everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Dr. Catherine Price. She is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, specializing in empowering women through every stage of life. I just added this part here. Known for her Yes, You Are Powerful approach, she offers transformative advice, courses, and treatment designed to help women thrive. So, this is my brief introduction to you, Catherine. We've been talking off record. The full bio will be at the end. So, the question that I usually ask everyone is how would you introduce yourself in your own words? But I guess I will change this up a little bit today. Does it feel like a calling, a mission, a purpose to you to do what you're doing these days? And how did that come about?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think my connection with nature has been something that's been so important to me ever since I was a little girl. My parents had a house in the countryside and I would pick the herbs in the yard and I would put them in my hair and I drink them and it felt so great to be connected with nature. That was totally wonderful. And then a big part of what I do in my clinic is listening intently to what people tell
Mm,
me,
yeah.
almost like a therapy session, but only for about 10 minutes. And they lie down, and then I take what they've told me
Mm,
and I put it within the framework of Chinese medicine. And
yeah.
we can talk all about that, but I include aromatherapy and
Mm,
stones and psychoacoustics.
yeah.
And I think when the body feels understood,
Yeah.
the whole soma, the body relaxes and says, "Oh, I'm safe."
Yeah.
So if somebody said, I just had a surgery on my shoulder. I have jaw pain. I have a headache. I have
Yeah.
stomach, and I work on everything. There's some subtle energy within the body of that person that knows when I touch in the right place or I select the right oil for, let's say, a woman who's in menopause.
Yeah.
She smells the fennel oil and she goes, "Oh, thank you." And
Mm,
so when the body gets this recognition that somebody else is listening and acting on its behalf, it
mm,
starts to open up and the energy moves miraculously. And so I love to be in touch with the natural world, but that we have our own ecosystem inside of us.
mm,
And the listening to people has been something I've done. I went to boarding school when I was 12 years old, and I made a little bench in my room. And
yeah.
people would come in and sit on my little bench and they'd tell me their problems.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happens now that I'm 50. People come in and they sit in a beautiful chair. And then after listening for a little bit, I say, "Okay,
Mm,
now it's time to rest." And so they let rest on a bed of amethysts,
yeah.
stones.
Wow.
And then I get to work. And I think what's so beautiful is that, even though, of course, I know the nuts and bolts of my craft, I'm at a point where I can go with the flow and I can respond on a very individual level to what people need. And sometimes it comes from a place of, oh, in Chinese medicine, this is the point for digestion. But
Right.
sometimes there's an intuitive quality to the
Mm,
work.
mm,
And that's where it's like,
mm,
it's where magic happens.
yes.
And my husband used to be a chef. And I say, it's like somebody's given me cardamom, cream, turmeric, and they've asked me to make a dessert. It's like someone comes with a collection of problems. I understand to the best of my ability, and I pull on the things that I know from Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, aromatherapy, stones, all
Yeah.
based in Taoism.
Yeah.
And then I go somewhere
Mm,
else. Like I just like
mm,
get to work. And
mm,
I think in a world that's so troubled,
yeah.
I I'm lucky to have this. I don't know how to change the big issues, but when someone comes to me and they leave, their reality has changed.
Right.
And it may be only for like a day, 2 days, but we just need that break in our reality to have the clouds sort of pull
Mm,
apart so we can reconceive the life we're living and how we're living it. We just need a
right.
moment.
Mm,
But we're
mm,
so enmeshed in this day-to-day life and we're
mm,
we're
mm,
running late and we're upset about this and this and this and social media this and that. We're not turning off our phones. I
right.
say to a patient, "Turn off your phone." He said, "I've never done that." I said, "Well, fucking try." It's unbelievable. But we need these breaks.
Yeah.
And so when I can let
Mm,
my client be heard and I can do what I believe I'm here for, I can create a little break so that they can start to reconfigure their lives and see things differently.
Right.
So, I mean, for sure, it's a purpose.
Mm.
And um, I mean, I'm made for it, right? We were talking before. It's just
Yeah.
like, if you're in this position of being a sentient person, being a compassionate person,
Yeah.
being an empathic person, what are the kinds of parameters you put around yourself for protection? Because we're not in the business of being martyrs. First thing, you just burn out. It's a mess. I
Right.
did it like a couple of times, but like it's by saying, I am worthy, my energy is worthy, and I will
Yes.
protect myself
Mm.
while in the service of others.
Yeah.
So that's sort of that. How do we do that?
Yeah.
And that's something we can discuss. And you don't need to be a person who's in the healing business. How
Mm.
do we energetically cleanse ourselves after a bad meeting with your in laws? Well, good question. We need to think about these things because we're sensitive. And anybody who's interested in your podcast is, by definition, a sensitive person.
Mm. Yeah, I would say so.
I mean, for sure.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. You said, I mean, I don't even know where to begin here. I think what came to mind, I wish I was close to you.
Yeah,
Well, I
come
wrote to
see
you
me.
like today. I
I
gotta
know.
meet her for some, yeah, for a session.
Yes, of
The
course.
body would go. Yeah, would love that. To
Yes.
be heard. I love the way you said that. So the body loves to be heard, seen, understood. Yes. And you spoke, what came to me when you're saying that immediately was intuition. Like, okay, it's intuition meeting intuition, sacredness meeting sacredness.
Yes.
Truly beautiful.
Something super interesting happened yesterday in my clinic. Like this woman was, I can't remember what it was. I was working on her kidney energy that when it's out of balance, it has to do with fear.
Mm,
And she didn't know I was doing that because that was sort of where the journey took me. And she got off the table and she said, I'm not fearful anymore. And I said, well, holy shit, because you didn't even know. But something about the subtlety of the energy between us,
yes.
some part of her had her intuition knew, and there was some meeting in some place
Yes. Yeah.
that we could work on that.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing. I see, I call that magic, but
it,
it's really very natural. Yeah, it's part of
yes,
I think it seems to me like we have forgotten or have lost the connection to wholeness. So we're just kind of focusing on parts of life most of the time, and we are not really embracing, the all this amazing capability, that the body has, body mind, actually both, and then the divine self, that's a completely different story. And now we are going to into infinite possibilities and
yeah,
tap into the infinite with
I
the finite.
agree. I mean, part of the problem is I think that I'm not saying you or I, but in general, we hate ourselves.
Hmm.
As women, there's so much criticism from the outside. There's
Yes.
self criticism in terms of every part of life. Am I enough? Am I attractive enough? Am I
Mm,
skinny enough?
mm,
I'm a working mother. I'm not showing up. I'm not working. I feel useless. And so that kind of self sabotage, how can we be whole when we
ah,
live in a culture that doesn't tell us we're whole ever?
wow. Gosh, do you I know I just read the bio, and it really you emphasize women a lot. Do you also work with men? Are you open to everyone, or just
Yeah. So there is about 10 years where I saw only like three men in my practice.
Oh, wow.
I think it's because for a long time my practice centered on OBGYN concerns and fertility. Um, and so that's sort of who I was drawing. I was drawing women.
Right.
Um, and now I have a couple. I have some guys in my clinic. I like them. You can just, I think there's just like a different way. There's a different way of interacting with them.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just like, do whatever you got to do, make my shoulder or my elbow feel better. And
Yeah.
it's sort of,
Yeah.
there's sort of a joking quality with them. Not that I'm
Mm.
really joking, but there's just a whole different vibe and that's fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
some of the men I'm seeing now are entrepreneurs. And
Right.
I see that when you have a company and you shoulder so much responsibility, what that does, to the body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And and I can relate. And so I do see men, but I've mostly seen women.
Yeah. So thank you for
And
yeah,
yeah,
for answering that question. And you also mentioned, I mean, what came to mind when you talked about this dance of doing things and doing too much, trying to, caught up, be on time. It is my one of my greatest, let's say, if there was something to call weakness, would be that one. I love the timeless, so I have a hard time being on time. My husband already kind of gave up on that because
yeah,
he's
he
always,
knows. He knows.
yes. So what talk to me for a moment about this concept of balance. Is that what needs to be addressed, this
Yeah.
thing called balance, or something else,
Yeah,
Catherine?
I think so. I mean, we're all really out of balance, and that's the thing I talk to about my clients with. It's important that they don't think that I'm sort of in a hierarchical situation with them. I'm meeting them at this place, and I say, "You're unbalanced. I'm unbalanced. Everybody is." And
Mm,
so, within the landscape of our body, where is that imbalance? And then, what can be done on in lifestyle decisions, for example?
right.
Maybe have to do with exercise or food, but how we conduct our lives, who we decide to let into our lives.
Mm, yeah.
Because when we're in relationship, we've chosen it. We don't have to be in relationship with really anybody.
Right.
We're choosing. And
Right.
then also
Huh.
energetically in terms of Chinese medicine, meaning acupuncture or herbs, how can we recalibrate ourselves to get into what Western medicine would call sort of homeostasis,
Yeah.
everything balanced?
Yeah.
But we're humans living in this world. And so maybe you didn't sleep last night. Maybe you had a hard phone call.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody recently died. So in this, perhaps we're dealing with lack of energy. Perhaps we're dealing with frustration. Or in the last example, perhaps
Mm,
we're dealing with grief. And each of these things will manifest in the body differently.
yeah.
The frustration will manifest with a tight jaw,
Mm,
tight shoulders,
wow.
migraines,
Wow.
PMS, for example, for some women, or even maybe excess tension, maybe in connective tissue anywhere in the body.
Mm,
Grief, what is that going to look like? It could have to do with waking up between 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning when you don't want to be up.
yeah.
It could have to do with issues with the lungs. It could happen to do with it's hard to catch your breath, which could be other things. It could be your lungs are creating a lot of phlegm. It could have to do with a lot of things. And then the first thing I mentioned was not having enough energy or chi. What can we do for that?
Mm,
And so there are all these lifestyle things. They're decisions we can make on a daily basis,
yeah.
but how we conduct our lives, what we put in our bodies, but also what kind of environments we're in. Are we with people who believe in us, who are
Right.
kind to us, who
Right.
care for us?
Right.
And so, how
Mm,
do we bring ourselves back into balance given that we're always being pulled in a direction? Because in this point, you're human and I'm human, and we have problems.
mm. Yes.
So it
Yes.
is about balance, but it's also this constant recalibration. But it
Mm,
requires self-knowledge. You have to know what's going on with
right.
your body. And when most people have this disconnect between their mind and their body, you hear about women who are pregnant. They're 5 months pregnant. Like, oh, I didn't know. Like, how could you fucking not know? You're like, you've been had a period in 5 months. So a lot of people don't know they have a body. And this is sort of this hamster wheel.
Mm,
So if we have an awareness of our body,
right.
which a lot of people don't have, and there are a lot of acupuncture points around the neck to try and bridge these two worlds.
Wow. Yeah.
They're called the window of the sky points.
Mm,
How do we integrate this and this to
right.
have this self-knowledge? And if we have this self-knowledge,
Mm,
then we can take measures to rebalance, and
yeah.
we can rebalance ourselves. And there are ways we can do this. And then also we can pay people to help us. But
Mm,
it's good that we have options that are not expensive. We should have
mm,
free options.
right.
And I think that when it comes to my Instagram or other things or my newsletter,
Yeah.
I want people to be empowered by things that are free.
Yeah.
You have a headache. These are the points. Go
Yeah.
do it yourself.
Mm,
You have stomach pain. Stop drinking cold soda. Like these
mm,
are really simple things. And I think that there's a real lack of information
mm,
about wellness that's correct, but also women's wellness. There's just not good information.
Right.
And I think we should be empowered to know how to take care of this
Right.
for ourselves. But
Right.
also, there are, high level practitioners to help too. But for a lot of people, it's hard to get in, that perhaps you don't know them, perhaps you can't afford them. So there should be options because we should be able to have dominion over this body
Mm,
and not just outsource it to somebody else or just let it languish because we don't know how to take care of it.
right. And I love that you offer these. You're very generous. I went on your Instagram page and I see so much there. On your website's beautiful too.
Thank you.
So yes, what's not to love about that? There's a giving and receiving, this loving relationship to life and helping other human beings. Having this understanding that not everyone can pay for a session, or not everyone is, let's say, listening to certain channels. So sometimes they love Instagram, so that's where you are, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever platform it is. So that's really something to not just admire. To me, is it goes back to sacredness again, like you be in touch with your own sacredness. So you, in a way, you meeting the world and everyone else at that level, that everything is sacred and deserves attention, deserves some giving. So that's really beautiful. Thank
I
you.
think I think I've had to overcome a lot of maybe self-doubt, but also I
Mhm.
think, you know,
Yeah,
in this year, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, but very privately and intimately with my clients.
yeah,
But I think that this year has been a
yeah,
lot about feeling, in from this place of feeling vulnerable, but also courageous.
yeah,
How do I talk to you? Or how can I put this message out there?
yeah,
Because there's women need the encouragement. We need to feel like we're good enough.
yeah,
And there's
yeah.
also
Mm,
there's a lot of information out there that's not helpful to us.
right,
So that I think
right.
has to do with my mission of going into these uncomfortable places for me,
Yeah,
so that to have these kinds of dialogues, because I don't think women should feel alone, and or even
mm,
should suffer from pretty basic things that can be remedied with certain lifestyle things. And I have lots of friends who are Western doctors, and I respect them for so much. But when you go to the doctor, they give you 15 minutes of their time, and
right,
it's not enough to be heard.
right.
And also, doctors don't have training in alternative medicine, right? So it's like, here are some drugs, and
Yeah,
it's okay. It's great to take drugs if they're the right drugs, but it could be an issue of you need to be eating more protein or you need to be eating more fiber, because as a woman we need to defecate regularly because we circulate old tired energy, estrogen. And
yeah,
if we don't defecate regularly,
mm,
not only do we feel terrible, but our hormones become out of balance. And
wow,
so we need to have all this fiber for our microbiome and this and that, and most doctors are too busy to have this conversation.
right.
So I really love this. I think it's important for me to say that I really love alternative medicine, but I come to this place of there's something for us to take from both.
Right.
It's best it's best to be open-minded to whatever works.
Mm,
And so that's sort of part of my mission, to get out there and talk.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing so, Guy. And you're so clear about everything that you share,
Thanks.
in a very beautiful way too. I love your confidence. I think that we can call it confidence, but it's really authenticity, isn't it? You're just expressing your natural self, coming
I
from
think
that place of
so.
truth.
Don't you get like, I guess, like, when I turned 50 this year, I was like,
Yeah.
it's time. I mean, you can't hide for your whole life.
Mm,
And people are going to like you or not like you. And if they don't like you, it's fine.
yeah.
And I think that is that confidence, because we want to be so liked and so
Yes.
approved of,
Right.
particularly when we're younger.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's new. Like, I think the thing you're commenting on, for me, it's new. I would say
Mm,
it's really of the past
yeah.
6, 9 months to a year where I'm just like, you know what? This
Mm,
is just what you get.
yeah. That's
It's like, this is it. This is it. Like it or don't like it.
ah,
And you know what?
great.
What a relief,
Mm,
to not have to please and just say, look, I'm going to show up how I am to the best of my ability,
yeah.
and I'm not going to be perfect.
Yes. That's it.
So
Because
fine.
it's not about perfection, right? It's about presence, in my opinion. It goes back to being present to you for what's true to you. Gosh, I love that too. That could be a podcast in itself, a whole conversation about
Yes.
how to accept you exactly as you are, and just be whatever is here. So there's something to do to me with love. It goes back to love. Everything goes back to love.
Yes.
Can't help
Yes.
it,
It's
isn't it?
tr-
It's
it's I
love.
think it's the religion. I think if love and compassion,
Yeah.
whatever you call it after that. But I think it's like, and
Mm,
it's for
yeah.
it's for the people who you love in your life. It's for acquaintances. And then when it comes to people who haven't been kind to you, that's
Mm,
harder.
yeah.
And even to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's rough stuff. But I think love is really where
Mm,
we shine as humans. And as humans,
yeah.
look, we're really a mess. I mean, we're not the best group, but I do think our capacity to love is when we rise to the occasion and it's the best version of ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. And that, Catherine, that goes back to being natural again. I don't know why this idea, of nature, we see in nature, everything, a flower is just a flower, they're not comparing. There's no comparison. They just do what they do. They kind of unfold, themselves into what they are supposed to be, and
Yes,
what they're
yes,
meant to be. But
yes,
we have this resistance, we have belief systems, we have been traumatized, we have been hurt in so many ways. So I guess
yes.
that changed, right, the way we express ourselves here. But the way it is going back to the natural way of, to be of being natural, which means love, curiosity, all that good stuff comes from that place. I just very much see the connection now more than ever. Of course, I have always observed that in my entire life, throughout my life, but now has become very clear. That's just being natural, not in the sense of
Yeah.
we don't have to not to use makeup in order to be natural. It has nothing to do with that. That those are superficial things, but it's just coming from a place of love. We all have that within ourselves, within the heart, but some of us are not able to express that, and that is the work of healing, which is this platform is all about too. For some reason, I made that connection early on: healing and spirituality. We can't really we cannot try to heal emotional wounds with spiritual medicine, and I tried that before myself. Telling
Mhm.
myself the bypassing, it didn't work. So
Yeah.
we got to take it slowly, one thing at a time.
But
um
this is the beauty of this time is that, you know, I think that we live in a culture, and I also think Brazil is the same way. It's very youth oriented
yeah,
and it's also very beauty oriented.
right.
Nothing like going for a jog on Copacabana Beach to see these bodies. You're just like, oh my God, just gorgeous.
Right.
But we also live in a youth obsessed culture here.
Yeah.
And I think that as a woman gets older, there can be this mourning of sort of this kind of like overt sexuality,
Mm,
but we get to be in this conversation. We get to be confident. And I think this is a celebration
mm,
to be able to be who we are.
right.
And it also means we've survived. It
Mm,
means we've survived our childhood.
yeah.
It means we've survived all kinds of things,
Yeah.
all kinds of stupid decisions that could have been life threatening. We're here. And isn't that just shocking? Because I don't know about you, but I was pretty stupid when I was young. I did lots of
Oh
dangerous
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And so here we are. We've survived and
Mm.
we've arrived at this moment with these good vibes and this open heart and this burgeoning self-acceptance.
Yes.
And this is an okay trade for being young. This is good. I think we're lucky.
Yeah, I love that. I never heard it that way. That's almost like the evolution, right? Of what it means to be a human, right? Not to stay. I mean, it's really again, it's natural for life to just move and grow out of something. It's never the same. You see that in nature again. It never stays the same. So why would we stay the same? It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense.
But also, like, why be a princess when you can be a priestess?
Oh, I love that. Ah, now it's talking. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is a beautiful time.
Yeah, it is. It is, Catherine, I have to say. So the topic of our conversation, the title, is Boundless Beauty, the word natural radiance from the inside out. So the question that came to me immediately when I saw the title was, I can't wait to ask her the meaning of beauty. So how do you define beauty these days? Did have an Can you talk to me about the evolution of your idea of beauty?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. Within Chinese medicine, there's this glow that comes from within that is the spirit.
Yeah.
It's called the Shen.
Mm.
And I think that is beauty. And I don't think it's relegated to youth at all. I think that it can be in any age. And also, it can be in an older face that has interesting wrinkles. It's engaging. I think beauty is what holds your attention. And I don't think it's
Mhm.
stereotypically beauty
Yeah.
in youth. It's something that draws your attention and holds your attention.
Right.
And I think it's unique. I think everyone trying to look the same, that's not beauty because that's not authentic.
Right.
It
Right.
just means they go to the same doctor.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. That's also the case. Yeah. I have heard about all these things. I think I have done, I was a fitness competitor in New York. And I remember when I did the competition, I was probably, 31, 32. And they asked me, like, oh, you got to do some, because had to lose a lot of weight. And then the wrinkles started to show. And they said, no, we
Yeah.
have to fix that. So, and then started doing something. They did something to my face. It didn't last long, it was temporary, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe it was Botox. I'm not sure it was. Yeah, I think it was. So it's funny how, yeah, they were trying to match everything. Okay, now your body looks great, but then we want the face to us. I mean, that was just too much. It was one of the most painful experiences I have had when it comes to, the image thing, the body mind image.
Because
It
they
genuinely,
were saying your body's amazing, but we're not so happy with
the
other
wrinkles that,
things.
yeah, because you have lost a lot of weight and then we need to fix that. So the fixing, that's another that's kind of sad comparison and then fixing when it comes to achieving the beauty status quo.
And that word is so problematic.
Mm,
Fixing. People even come to me and say, "Oh, can you fix me?" I said, "Well, you're
yeah.
not broken.
Mm,
You're not broken.
yeah,
And also, like, you're not a patient, you're a client. You
yeah,
just need recalibrating." But the fixing language is
mhm.
just very hurtful, like you said.
It is. Yeah, I felt like, yeah, they were trying to fix something that it didn't make any sense.
But
But
also, so it's so objectifying too. You're
yes,
like, there's an actual person in here with feelings, and
yeah,
the way you're speaking to me hurts my feelings.
right. Oh my God, Catherine, that's another it's another topic in itself when it comes to the way humans perceive one another and life itself, themselves. It's just the thing about perception. We have forgotten again that we are sacred beings. Yes, that we have a soul, that spirits here. We
Yeah.
have forgotten that. That's really I mean, that fascinates me. This very fact that we have forgotten what we are. And I see that everywhere.
Everywhere.
Um, yeah, when I go to the stores, I don't go out that much. I don't watch TV that much, but maybe that's why I created this platform so I could relate to other human beings from that. It's almost like from the invisible world that I can see you as a sacred being, and it feels so natural. But I can't do this anywhere, although I do it anyway. But it's not, yeah,
But
acceptable.
I also have that makes total sense. I also see that going out into the world and being extra kind and
Mm,
chatting with people, like
yeah.
those small warm interactions compound and
Mm,
create good energy. And I
yes.
think the more of that,
Yeah.
I receive a lot of warmth from that, and then the person receives warmth and they're nice to the next person.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really helpful. It's just,
Yeah.
you go to the grocery store, use the cashier who knows your name,
Right.
or someone who says hi to you, or just like
Right.
to create
Mm.
small good vibes
Yes.
can make you feel like seen
Right.
just in a little way.
Right. Right.
Because I think we need that too.
We do, yeah, and that's something that happens almost like automatically when we become in alignment, body, mind, spirit. Then we just do that naturally again. But I don't think it's enough. I really feel that we need to kind of give more time, and that's the idea of time, attention, not
Yes,
say less
yes.
time, attention to what's timeless, what is infinite, what's in us that never dies, that has been always here, this ancient presence of the divine. I think that is, it's very much missing in
Mm.
our cultures. And I don't know how that will happen. We just, like you said beautifully, we can only contribute, little by little in small ways by being that ourselves. But it would be amazing to see that as, collectively, everyone kind of seeing the beauty of the infinite in one another's eyes and hearts.
Well, that happens during moments. Like I remember after September 11th, I was on the last subway going
Um,
underneath the World Trade Center after it had been hit.
yeah,
So, it was, of course,
yeah.
a big for anybody anywhere, but also if you lived in New York at the time. Were you there then?
In Miami, I was in Miami at the
You
time.
were in Miami?
Watch, yes, yeah,
But in New York, after that, for a couple of weeks, there was this kindness,
right,
strangers talking to each other, crying. There
right,
was this warmth
right.
and this seeing of each other's, maybe you would say, souls. So
Yeah,
this kind of spirituality, seeing each other that
yeah,
you're describing, it can happen. It
right.
might just take harsh circumstances.
And that's the thing. Um, do we need that? That's the question. Do we need tragedy in order to see what's already here, has been always here, as a calling, as a powerful presence? Do we need that? And I guess that goes back to the even personal development, when or personal, let's say, awakening to spirituality, that a lot of people say, you need suffering, we need to suffer in pain to awaken, to
Yeah.
really heal. Now I never believed that in the first place. I think we need inspiration. I think we need what you just mentioned about this transmission, in the small moments. That's powerful. But also we need kind of to turn our attention. It's almost like, in Sufism they call like, the turning of the heart, the light
Mhm.
turning to itself. It's almost
Yes.
like the attention, the perception turning. In Taoism, I know Taoism, I love that philosophy too, is about silence.
Yes.
You've seen the silence everywhere, and that's the sacred silence of the divine. That's everywhere. Just I can hear the silence right now. Just listen to your voice, my voice, and whatever's happening. There's this silence that's here. That's just beautiful.
I think we live in a culture, though, that is very individualistic and materialistic. And
Right.
so, if everything is going great, people are living in that world of me, my family, what can I achieve? How much can I make?
Yeah.
They're not seeing everybody else in the
Right.
same kind of way. And when I think that there is, I don't want to say tragedy, but when we are really tested, we go to community. We
Right.
should do that anyway.
Mm,
But we have people over for dinner and we have gatherings and
yeah.
we say, I heard about this group of women not too far from me.
Yeah.
And they're saying, they're not even that good friends, they're acquaintances. And they say to each other, if you feel depressed and you're having a hard time, let us know and one of us will come wash the dishes in your sink.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, well, come to my house. I'm like,
Come to
but
my house every day.
but
Oh
but
yeah.
this but this community is about having to do with having tough moments. So maybe in tough moments we do look more outward for networks of
Yeah.
people to support ourselves, and we do live in a culture that's very individualistic.
Right.
So I'd love to say when everything is perfect, we're thinking community, but that's not where I think the United States is at this time. It could have been in the 1950s. I don't think that's where it is now. But under harsher circumstances, whether it's personal or community or has to do with a country or global, I do think we reach out almost like the roots of a tree and how the trees
Mm,
interact with each other by the roots. I think we will do that
yeah.
when there is trouble. I'd love to say we would do it anyway. I just don't know if we do. But I've seen great demonstrations of that recently and so much kindness. And it's been amazing.
Yeah. I think it is changing. Yeah. There's this yeah, this turning, you see, yeah, towards, yeah, community, and coming together, somehow sharing. There's a lot more happening. But you said something now that I thought before, yeah, United States not ready. We see that with the elections too. I don't know about much about politics and all, but we had a woman, right, Kamala, as um, as a candidate, and then she lost, not by a lot, but and then somebody said that, oh, United States not ready. So I don't know what that meant exactly when it comes from that perspective of politics. But did that mean? I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to get politics in here. Maybe I should just skip the question. I was about to ask a question about that, but no. Let-
It's, it's interesting. It's an interesting issue, in that my clients, I believe, have lots of different perspectives.
yes.
And so it is a spiritual practice to find that place of
Mm,
kindness outside of that, knowing that people are challenged and they see the world in different ways,
right.
and probably different than I see it.
Right.
And so, how
Yeah.
do I bring my best self
Huh.
to the situation?
Yeah, because you can't please everyone or try to, right? That's not what we want to do. But yeah, it goes back to something that's universal. So it's less personal and more universal: love, kindness, um, inner peace, and all these beautiful ways of interacting with ourselves and others in the environment. Also, the
Yes.
environment, that's a big one. I think
Yes.
we have been ignored. I think that that's a reflection, isn't it, Catherine, of the relationship we have with ourselves. That shows clearly the relationship we're having with our environment. And when I see some people throwing trash out of the window, it just hurts me. There's this very uh, it's almost like hmm, gosh, it's very powerful the way I feel. It's almost like I'm the land itself. It doesn't feel good. Not that I get angry or anything emotionally, but something happens that really
But you can be angry. Why we have polluted our planet and
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah,
It's a
mm,
big question, and
yeah,
what to do about it.
right. And I really love what you're doing because you're helping people to detox in a way and clean the lands, their inner landscape.
Yes.
That might help, right, to wake up the mind, to see how we can clean up the outer landscape as well.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So, gosh, we're almost at the end, and I have so many of the outline that you sent me here. I would like to hear a bit more about the relationship between stress and this cleaning, this natural way of living, the way you teach, your clients to do it.
Hmm.
How do we learn? Is stress something that we are supposed to get rid of, or are we supposed to befriend stress in a way or manage? I don't know what the word is, but
That's a really good question. I think the most evolved way to answer this, I can't say this is exactly what I do,
yeah.
but the most evolved way is to take that thing that's upsetting you
Mm,
and invite it in, and in a meditation, and say,
mm,
come for tea,
yes.
tell me how you feel,
Mm,
don't think you're staying. But
yeah.
to be curious about the things that
Yes.
make us so upset, so we can understand ourselves better,
Mm,
to integrate those pieces.
mm,
I know that I am guilty of being very compartmentalized and be like, oh, I can't deal with this. But by shunting that stress and upset away mentally, I'm putting it in a place in my body, saying, oh, I'll deal with you later.
right.
And
Mm,
the more evolved way would be, I will make space for you.
right.
I'm sorry this happened to you.
Mm,
Obviously, this is upsetting to you. And start to open up that place of clenching and unhappiness.
mm,
So that's the most evolved thing, right? Is to find some
huh,
acceptance with what upsets us.
mm,
What we often do is we exercise to deal with stress.
mm,
And that's totally fine. It will regulate your chi
yeah.
that gets stuck. When we feel worried, when we feel scared, when we
Yeah.
feel angry, our energy gets stuck in certain parts of our body,
Right.
and we're likely to lash out. Maybe we have a short fuse. We have all these emotional reactions and physical reactions. By, I'm not saying exercise solves everything, but it will temporarily circulate stuck energy. It's like putting a band aid on a problem, but
Right.
it's something.
Right.
And that can help us cope. It doesn't get us to the underlying issue, but it can help us deal in the moment, or even sort of in a couple hours, within a couple hours, of the thing that makes us upset.
Mm. Yeah.
But to the extent that
Huh.
we can befriend our our hard feelings,
Mm.
then resolution can come. The
Mm.
exercise is about moving stuck energy, but it doesn't create more energy. And people exercise too much sometimes. People have exercise addictions when they can't stop exercising.
Yeah.
And what does that do? That exhausts you.
Right.
And then you have less fuel in the tank to deal with life's problems because you burnt up all your chi doing, Pilates a million hours a day, every day of the week,
Right.
or CrossFit or whatever it is.
Right.
So exercise can be a way to help us modulate our stress,
Yeah.
but in resolving it, it's doing the hard work of of trying to integrate. When
Mm.
it comes to traumatic experiences, perhaps when we're young, we don't have that ability. So we have to survive our
Right.
childhood.
Right.
And that is why adulthood is about healing some of those old things.
Yeah.
It's when the mother in us can mother the injured child in us,
Mm.
and together we can work together to get to a more whole place.
Yeah. Gosh, that's beautiful. Gosh. I didn't ask you this question before, but listening to you now, it felt like very spiritual, like you, coming from that, we call it spiritual, really a place of knowing oneself, really, just,
Yeah.
the depth of you. So how did you begin that journey though? Because you sound so, especially when you speak about creating space, integrating whatever it is, the parts of life to become whole.
Yeah.
That's a very spiritual concept.
Yeah.
So how did you
I
come
guess.
to, yeah.
I don't know. It's funny, when I lived in Brazil in college, people would talk about their spiritual guide. And
Oh.
I didn't quite get that. And I think that as I've gotten older, particularly after giving birth to my last child, who's 17, I was surrounded by all these beautiful entities holding me, which was sort of
Mhm.
in the spiritual realm. This was obviously not in the material world. And I
Yeah.
think more and more I've befriended my spirituality and my spiritual guide to help me navigate these things. And I
Yes.
know there are parts of me that are broken, and maybe not broken, there are parts of me that need care.
Mm.
And it's, as my children are grown-ish, and now it's my responsibility to take care of the parts of me that need attention and love. And so
Right.
I have this picture
Yeah.
of in my bathroom of me. um,
Huh.
Maybe I'm 8 years old, and it's in a big silver frame. And
Yeah.
I talk to her. I said, "Good morning,"
Mm.
and I try and stick up for her. And I notice, sometimes our worst behaviors are when our inner child is having a little shit fit. And
Right.
so our
Right.
inner child sometimes lashes out in ways that
Mm.
adult us is not very proud of.
Right.
And so I try and take good care of my inner child, and know I'm there to to protect
Mm.
her and
Mm.
see her, and not put her in situations that, could be
Mm.
harmful
Right.
while I'm in the process of healing.
Right.
So I think I just came to this. I come from a lot of very spiritual people. So some people say there's a gene for
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Mm.
I guess through this life, past life, circumstance, who
Mm.
knows?
Mm. Mm.
But this is just this is the flavor of my being. It's not like this or something else. This is sort of who
Yeah.
I am.
Yes. I love this recognition too. Yeah. It's beautiful to hear. It's very clear that you know those parts where they're coming from, and even acknowledging past lives. You know, a lot of people, I resisted that too, you know, the idea of past lives, you know, the influence that it could have in
Yeah.
this life. Now I'm a lot more open to all of it. But yeah, it's very clear to me that you're coming from that place. It's a very, I mean, we all are really, but I guess it's what I love about it is that you're conscious of it, and it's that's very clear too. There's beauty in that, to knowing your own essence. There's something about it.
And
Um,
also I was gonna say there's a lot of work I've done that I believe has sort of paid penance for whatever I may have done in a past life. And now
yeah,
I'm definitely paying it forward to
yeah,
future lives.
yeah,
And so, you
uh,
know, the
yeah.
question is sort of what kind of behavior do we engage in on a regular basis? And to what extent is it sort of informing our karma?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and sometimes I'm very proud of my behavior, and sometimes I'm not proud of my behavior. Like the person who tried to take my parking space. No, I'm just kidding. But something, something in Boston last weekend with this woman who didn't like my driving. But I was like, oh, that was not my best. But what kind of behavior are
Yeah.
we engaging in? And how does that inform the life we're living and maybe the life we might live in the future?
Yes, that's a big one. Yeah, that's yeah, that they call it awareness, being self-aware, like everything we do, our thoughts and all that. And that's huge too, though. That's why I practice meditation, but just not meditation. Yeah, that too, sitting and being quiet, but also almost like resting in silence and relying more on this the energy of silence, and that I can hear
Yeah.
now, as I said earlier, like through your voice and everything that I'm in
Mhm.
contact with. That's powerful though. It has been, it's almost like the mind's meeting the breath. It's something like that that has been explained. You probably heard about the secret of the golden flower. Have you heard about that?
No, no, you have to tell me.
Yeah, so that's really the practice of resting the mind within your breath, but not the breath that you hear. You know it's there. It's that it goes back to silence again. I love Taoism for that reason too. They
And
always go back to silence.
when you have your meditation, can't you find so much so
Mm,
much expansion, and there's so much light? And
yes.
then when you get to that place, you're like, why don't I spend more time here?
Yes. Why not?
Because you have to make your way through all the unpleasant thoughts. And oh, I should
Mhm.
make dinner. And oh, I forgot to do this. And
Right.
then when you get to that place, it's like you're basking in the sun.
Right. Right, right. It is. And not that we are supposed to stay there, right? Because we are supposed to bring that, that information, that light to the dark parts of ourselves and in life,
Mm-hmm.
in the business of life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a talk. There's somebody who will talk. I'll have a conversation next month about bringing yourself everywhere, like your heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
all parts of you everywhere. Do not leave
Yeah.
anything behind. So
Yeah.
that
I
speaks to
like that.
importance. Yeah, I love that too. And
Yeah.
she's a very, I mean, for some reason, and maybe I'm mentioning her now with you because she, for some reason, it might be, maybe she would resonate with you, you would resonate with her.
Yeah.
She's very intelligent and she's very wise. And that's the
Yeah.
wisdom that I hear in your voice too. I hear in her voice. I'm like, oh my God,
Oh,
these
but
women are amazing.
perfect. And also, it's like, I think when you're younger, you're like, I've got to show this side or that side. And I
Mm,
went to the coffee shop today and I talked to the
yeah.
guys at the coffee shop, and I'm the same way there as I am here, as I
Mm,
am with my clients.
mm,
It's all the same. You
yeah.
go to dinner party, this is it.
Yeah.
There's no false augmenting, and there's no subtracting. This
Right.
is it. And
Right.
that's what you're saying, but bring your whole self.
Right. That's it. God, and that's it sounds like a practice, right, Catherine? Because we needed to integrate that first within ourselves. We can't really bring ourselves whole out there if we're not whole, feel already the wholeness here. So it's something that happens within ourselves first, and then we just take it out there. But I don't know how much of that we can do within a lifetime, and that's my quest now to see how much of that, that love, that divine presence, that natural way of being, we can just be everywhere every time at all times. That's the challenge, I guess, or the
But
practice.
I think when we value ourselves and what we do,
Yeah.
we have freedom.
Mm,
And
yeah.
within that freedom,
Yeah.
You're going to show up with makeup, without makeup. Your hair's a mess. Your outfit sucks. Who cares? You're like, I know, like that freedom and that confidence. It's like if you're missing some of those things, hey, it's
Mm,
you just forgive you're okay with it.
yeah.
And if you're okay with it, everyone's okay with it. And
Right.
then no one in my clinic knows I'm wearing long underwear and my son's shirt and Birkenstocks, the world's worst outfit, because they want to feel better and they don't care what I'm wearing. And if
Mm,
they don't care, I don't care. And then it becomes irrelevant what I'm wearing.
yes.
And that's the we want, I think as women and everybody,
Mm,
but we want to feel freedom and we want to feel relaxed.
yes. Yeah.
We want to be free
Mm,
to bring ourselves everywhere.
mm,
Not to say, oh, that part of me can't come because she's unacceptable.
yeah.
Or they're gonna like me more if I'm like this. So I'm gonna be more like this.
Right.
We want the freedom.
Mm,
And also I think when we live with that purpose, we're more relaxed.
yeah.
And then we breathe better.
Mm,
And then we breathe from our bellies, like sort of like we're chubby, breathe
yeah.
from our bellies and make our bellies big. They don't have to be flat all the time, forever.
I love
And
that.
then we and then we feel more peaceful. Then we have less anxiety. I mean, what do we have as women? We have tons of anxiety.
Mm,
It's because we're not even breathing. Of
right.
course we feel terrible. We're not breathing
Mm,
because part of us we've decided is unacceptable.
mm. Oh my God.
Because somebody's told us that.
Yeah. How beautiful. Yeah. Oh,
So
I wish for every young person to just listen. My younger self, yeah, now
I know.
listening, and then yeah,
Well,
all
you know
young.
what they do? I mean,
Yeah.
I know this sounds like, oh, everyone complains about social media, but I have so many younger women in my clinic who are not even engaged and they're worried about not getting pregnant and they're worried about being infertile. And these new moms are obsessed they're not feeding their baby correctly. And
Yeah.
everybody's thinking they're doing everything wrong. And this culture of comparison
Mm,
is making everyone feel so terrible about themselves. And people are forgetting that what people are showing on social media, if it's not out and out lie, it's a highlights reel of their lives.
right.
It's not day to day.
Mm,
No one's showing up, no one's showing the unattractive parts of themselves in their lives.
right.
And so all these young women are,
Mm,
there are kids in my practice who get Botox and fillers. And I
uh,
mean, they're just they're just done with puberty. I'm like, well, how young are you looking to look? Because you're 23. I mean, this is pretty great, and this is not going to get better, But it's like this comparison thing is like is so it's like a cancer. And
right.
so, how can we bring our best selves if we're addicted to being told we're wrong? And then when and by
Mm,
being told there's something wrong with us, somebody's trying to sell us something. Oh,
mm,
you need a new eyeliner.
right.
You need a new hair thing. You need a new shirt. You need to go to the gym.
Right.
So we would love younger us to hear this, but younger us was not exposed to this. For younger us, the iPhone didn't even exist.
Right.
So we may have been self-conscious, but not in the ways I'm seeing with my young clients. We were scared we were going to get pregnant. They're all scared they're not going to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And there's so much content around that.
Right. God.
So, how do we bring our whole selves? I
Mm,
think part of it is people need to be very wary of what they're putting, not only in their bodies, but in their minds.
right.
You have
Right.
to be their own parent. Be
Yeah.
your own parent. Don't let yourself watch that.
Right.
Because,
Oh, I love that. God, I love everything about that message. And what you said about bringing your best self. How can we bring our best self if we're not in touch with the true self? That's the only way that we can bring that best self. And put it out there. And it's true. Something that stayed with me, gosh, I could talk to you forever, is that when you talk about the belly, right? Yeah, breathing from your diaphragm, from your belly.
yeah,
You see
yeah.
babies. Oh my God, I love babies. Oh, and I love animals, like my dog with the big belly, especially when he eats and he's happy. He's just
Yes.
so, I mean, it's beautiful. It's awesome to see that. And I wish, yeah, yeah, I wish for, well, it's not really, it's beyond a wish. It's really a longing, for this moment where humans wake up to their own truth, the truth of what they are, not who
Yes.
but what, and then
Yes.
the magic happens.
And I think you asked early on about beauty. Beauty is this. Beauty is this conversation. Beauty is being able to embody what we've discussed. And sure, it's good to not drink and smoke, and it's good to do all these other very concrete things.
Yeah.
But that luminosity we're talking about coming from the skin and
Yes.
coming is health. And that is what we're talking about. Is
Yeah.
we're talking about the most interior part of this.
Right.
And there are all kinds of things we can talk about what to do to your face and
Oh
this
yeah.
and that.
Yeah.
But beauty is this reflection of our own health
Mhm.
and our relationship with everything in our lives,
Right.
our relationship with ourselves, the people we love, our relationship with money, our relationship with the environment, our relationship with all the things. How are we in relationship with the things in our lives? And to what extent is there harmony? And to
Right.
what extent is there disharmony?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Yes, yes, a billion times to that definition for beauty, which is not aesthetic one, right? It's always
No.
moving and changing, which is beautiful too, like life itself. So
Yes.
we are almost at the end, Catherine. Has been amazing to be in your presence.
This has been fun.
Yeah, meaningful fun, sacred fun.
So
Thank you. So
thank you.
I wanted to add, I know I want to mention your website. So drcatherine.com. You're also on Instagram, and I'll have the links here will be clickable. But you also
Yes.
have talk to me about the free email course, the 5-day facial rejuvenation glow guide. I made a note of this here. Is that
Yep.
still
It's
accurate?
gonna be yep, it's gonna be available, and it's at drcatherine.com slash
Oh yeah,
glow.
right.
There'll be we'll talk about very concrete things that people can do to have their skin look a little more glowy and revitalized. All of it will be things that come at virtually no cost. So there are things you can do at home, combination of things you can make in your kitchen,
Yeah,
things that you can, all kinds of really fun things, and it will be free. So it will be very user friendly. And I hope your listeners enjoy it. And also, every Sunday, I have a newsletter that comes out,
yeah,
and that is a lot of fun. Um, there's a lot of information. A lot of it has to do with lifestyle, the importance of touch and well being, of healing. There are
yeah,
a lot of things about, for example, the one last week talked about microplastics in our body and how we can avoid the accumulation of microplastics. So it's sort of holistic beauty meets women's wellness meets science, sort of
yeah,
where that all comes together, and that comes out every Sunday.
yeah.
And I hope your listeners like that. So they
Yeah.
can sign up on my website for that.
Yeah, there'll be. I'll have both of them here. The
Okay.
those links will be clickable. Thank you so much again, Catherine, for your beautiful presence.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
being open to all these questions and
Oh,
comments and flowing with this moment. Thank you for being.
I love this, and I'm so glad that we could start out our session even before we taped, having a little chat in Portuguese.
Yes, yes,
That was fun.
yes. So I'll talk to you soon. We'll be in touch
Okay.
again. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Mwah, mwah.